Okay.
Right?
We got to get on to the next stuff. This is way bigger than Christianity.
Okay.
Somebody told me that you saw the first ever screening of Star Wars. Is this true?
No, well, I'm sure it was screened before. In fact, my father knew someone who worked for Technicolor who actually brought the first print on the plane from London to Hollywood.
Right,
I even know the guy who did that.
London.
No,
Okay.
I was simply there at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard the very day it opened. Opening day at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. You know where that?
Yeah, I've seen it in pixels.
That's the theater I saw it at. I saw Charlton Heston, Moses himself, coming out of the showing before me, and we all had to wait in line. Because there was a line around the block just to get into the opening day of Star Wars.
Yeah. Look, this is like in Christianity, somebody saying the rise of Christ. I mean, this cannot be.
I was there.
I was there. I saw it when it started. I mean, that can look. You saw one of the biggest.
What was I? What was I? I was 13 or 14 at the time.
Okay.
It left a big impression on me because it was a really cool. The editing and the effects were so much better than any science fiction before. That it left a huge impression.
What science fiction did you watch before? Because I know there was Star Trek, which was parallels. Trekkies and Star Wars fans don't like each other.
Oh, I loved Star Trek though too.
Okay, so you love
a big fan of the original series.
Okay.
Which I also grew up on the reruns in the 70s with.
Did you watch?
What I loved about Star Trek, it was more philosophical.
It was more talky.
More talky. They didn't have the big budget to make it look.
I look, man. My dad loves Star Trek. In fact, I can't stand Star Trek. I grew up with it in the background constantly. It was just people talking. Did you watch Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and all of those other 90s old sci-fi? You didn't watch them? Okay.
That was it. Those the low budget for kids sci-fi serial movies.
You didn't watch those?
Like Buck Rogers. Yeah, Flash Gordon, and they had these, they did them with Westerns too. They had, these little shorts, because when you went to the theater in the 40s or something, they'd give you a newsreel, a cartoon, maybe a couple of shorts, and then 2 movies. So you'd go for a whole experience to the movie theater.
That sounds good, actually.
Yeah, and some of these shorts, especially for matinees for kids on Saturday.
What's a matinee again?
Stories of, the science fiction hero Flash Gordon, right, taking on Emperor Ming, the evil one.
Oh, so you know Flash Gordon.
Westerns, and those were the stories that directly influenced George Lucas.
Right.
He wanted to do a sort of a sci-fi serial in the future with just a lot better production value.
Did you read Dune?
Oh yeah.
When?
I read Dune before I saw Star Wars.
Okay. So you were like, George Lucas who actually read Dune. Wait, somebody's at the door. That's Saul. But
Desert Planet, the sandworms, the special skills, all that were inspired.
Special skills. Okay.
Yes.
Look, I know a lot of people that are salty. That means they are upset that Star Wars has stole so much. In fact, they say that Star Wars is basically just Dune. Well, look, if it's just basically that, why is Star Wars 10 times more popular than Dune? And they get very upset.
Well, the truth is part of it's Frank Herbert's fault. He wrote such a psychological and philosophical allegory. So much of it is happening inside the head of a guy who's having drug-enhanced psychic experiences that it is a very difficult novel to realize in film.
I have a different.
The first two attempts were imperfect because they changed the fighting skills into technology. They had sort of quiet voiceovers. They had to do all this recitative, all of this explanation to make Dune even plausible. So it just comes off weird. Whereas if you read the novel, you can be drawn into the mind of Paul Atreides and it sort of experiences transformation along with him.
Wait, I have somebody at the door. That's the guy I told you about, Saul from that sandy hithole. I'm gonna go get him. Is that okay?
Very good.
Okay, wait, let me get him. One sec. Hey, Paul. That's Saul. Come here. Hello.
Wow.
This is hello. I am Paul. I am Saul from that sandy hithole. Wait, let me get my
Are
still
you in
suit.
fact Paul Atreides?
Let me get. I do not know.
The Duke of Arrakis?
Maybe.
Maybe.
No,
Well,
look,
have you taken any mind-altering substances today?
Oh, I took some spice melons. That's what we call crack cocaine around here.
And if you have mentat training, and if you're bred to be the
look,
you must be having visions of the future.
We are not here to talk about myself. I am here because the other guy told me that you have telling me of this Star Wars and of this Jesus. Who are they? Tell me of Star Wars.
Well, at least no one is, to my knowledge, no one has confused Star Wars with actual history. A fantastic story that comes to a moral tale is not usually simply history. And whether it's Star Wars or the same kind of parabolic fable that we read in the Gospels of the New Testament, both are historically suspicious, but no one questions the idea that Star Wars is pure fiction because in a galaxy far, far away, or the Dune is the universal empire of 10,000 years in the future. So
I have a question. What have you done with the thinking machines?
The thinking
AI.
Well, they have to be banned. We had to have a jihad. We had to have a revolution just to get rid of sophisticated thinking machines.
Then why is there C-3PO?
See, he doesn't. George Lucas actually borrows from many, many sources, doesn't he?
Yeah, well,
I think he borrows from Asimov's Foundation trilogy. I think he borrows from Star Trek. I think he borrows from also Joseph Campbell, as he admits, the guy who compares mythologies and hero literature from across cultures. That guy had
I have a very low opinion of Joseph Campbell as a mythologist and as a literary. No, really, he's neither. He's neither a mythologist because he doesn't. He takes the ideas of archetypes very loosely, and he's not a literary analyst because he doesn't seem to be concerned with literature. So you can't.
You're right in one sense. It is neither, strictly speaking, literary analysis of one thing, nor is it really into a specific mythology. What he's
something I want to ask you. Dune has a very anti-religious message. Religion is, as you just said it's seen true by the masses, false by the wise, and useful by the politicians. That's basically the Bene Gesserit missionara protective, because that's the thing with Dune. You gotta give everything a fancy name. Doesn't make it sound pretentious at all.
Manipulator. In fact, didn't the sisterhood have a title, religious manipulator? And so what they'd do is they'd have these missionaria protectiva, right? They'd go to different planets and they'd plant seeds, religious seeds, messianic prophecies, religious ideas that would make it easy for Bene Gesserit spies to operate there. So we have the idea that the sisterhood, right?
Look. So basically, they're Jewish mothers on crack. They're a secret society. Oh, really? That's how I describe it to people.
You killed me there.
No, but thanks. Come back to us. Here, have a mask. Like, really, that's
Jessica, Paul's mother, is the ultimate Jewish mother on crack, and all her sisters.
Here's another joke. You know why Maria?
But look at it this way, though, too. He's trying to give, in effect, a sort of scientific explanation for it, because the sisterhood is seeking this Messiah. They're breeding it through genetics.
Right.
They're training it through training. So they believe that through, and using certain mind-enhancing drugs. So they're creating the very Messiah that they're religiously manipulating primitive people to believe in.
Right, and they're doing it by ridiculous. Look, this is the thing. The Force doesn't need to be explained; it just works, okay? But when what's his face, Herbert tries to explain the Bene Gesserits, it's 10 times worse than midichlorians. That's the one time I wasn't joking in this whole thing, and you laughed.
I don't know. At least he's giving it an explanation.
It doesn't make a lick of sense.
Well, no, like the voice. It doesn't. It cannot. In my mind, I cannot imagine the voice actually working.
No, it's ridiculous.
What you have to do is but this is the key to science fiction, It has to be a plausible suspension of disbelief.
This is beyond that. It's trying to be very realistic and Oh yeah, and she's the stocks and you do what she says.
It just, as a kid, when I read Dune, the idea was extremely fascinating to me. Imagine being able to understand someone's psychology so well that you know exactly what to say and how to say it to perfectly manipulate them into doing what you want.
This isn't manipulation. Myself,
this is a fascinating idea.
Yeah, but this isn't subtle in any way.
What it does is it builds in a determinism. It builds in a determinism. My objection is that even if you could get this total understanding of my psychology, I'm still not reducible to my psychology. I still have the capacity of thought and free will.
Even that, even if you are, let's say you are deterministic and you do that, like you can't manipulate someone or can hypnotize them, it's hypnotism, hypnotize them to do something they just don't want to do. It doesn't work.
They just don't want to do.
I just don't want to do it. Like, you can't convince me to do it.
But the whole trick with the voice is they think that's what they want to do because you found the crack into their psychology.
Except, let's face it, the gods aren't gonna let Jessica and Paul go just because she told them to go. It's like, look, I'm getting paid for this. What do you want from me? I don't know you, lady. I'm doing my job. It's like a policeman. It's like a policeman catching a guy red-handed, blood on his hand, and say, "Hey, mister, can you please let me go?" Yeah, so why not go? No, it's. And by the way, my least favorite thing about Dune is mentats, because mentats are stupid. No.
We make a lot of mistakes for being human computers.
No, not even that. You know how you become a mentat and you become smarter? You stop using concepts. You stop using judgments. You just see. It's dispensing conceptual thought.
Mathematical calculations, right?
And then you reach the truth, man. It's
purely rationalism, isn't it?
It's very.
Well, he gives you the idea that they're crunching facts, that they're doing big fact crunching, but that in effect it is reduced to a mathematical in the mentats.
Right,
they have to be trained from infancy to become human computers. But because religion has long banned thinking machines, they have to rely on
I'm gonna say it like this: for Herbert, because computers can't think, that means people who stop thinking like humans become smarter.
Right.
And that's stupid. It's like this guy. The whole problem with Dune is that in Frank Herbert's mind, also if you look at his interviews, he talks in very big words. He never connects to anything. He's horrible at that. Right. And he is the worst. He is the worst dialogue writer. Excuse me. What?
You can't see Lawrence of Arabia without seeing that had a huge impact.
Well, no, Lawrence of Arabia is something else. This foreign guy comes in and helps them out. Also,
but it's clear that Lawrence of Arabia is Paul Muad'Dib.
Yeah, kind of. Give or take a lot of stuff.
He is an alien from an alien culture, studies alien culture, infiltrates it, and becomes a Messiah-like figure leading a holy war. An alien enters the culture, becomes one of their messiahs, and leads a holy war against the foreign.
That's like Vespasian and the Flavius Vespasian or Titus. Which one was that? I got these guys mixed up all the time. Titus?
I'm sorry?
Which Vespasian was it that became suddenly the Messiah?
Both Vespasian and his son were called the Jewish Messiah.
Okay, by Josephus Flavius or Joseph, son of Mattathias.
Josephus labels Vespasian before Titus ever comes around. Right. Suetonius and Tacitus label both Titus and Vespasian Jewish Messiah.
So yeah, he's kind of the Muad'Dib of this story.
Yeah. They both claimed it, it's clear.
Okay, so do you agree with Frank Herbert's interpretation of the use of a religion for social engineering? Do you think that's pretty accurate? Well, everything else is the general idea.
The general idea that religion is the opium of the mass. I agree with something about Karl Marx said. The basic idea that religion is the opium of the masses is, I think, a true
What's your definition of religion? Because I have my own. I'm going to say it first because it might save us time. For me, religion is... doesn't have to be supernatural. Religion is myths used for a social purpose. What do you look at me like that? Do you have something in my teeth?
Just a useful myth, a political.
No, it's not a political. It's a myth used for social purposes. Now it can be a small social group like a tribe, or it can be a huge political empire. It just has to be a myth, which is a thing people believe that they do not to explain something they don't understand. and somebody comes in and says, "Hey, let's do this and this." So, huh? No,
That's what it really seems we're getting to.
I mean, look, man, screw all of this religion. I mean, screw all of this religion stuff. That's not even fun. Screw Dune even. That's not fun.
Well, but notice in Star Wars, in the prequels in Star Wars are fascinating because this religious elite, the Jedi, are really the protectors of the Republic, right?
Not a religion. I wouldn't say the religion. Are they a religious elite? I mean,
aren't they?
Yeah, look, but it's not a religion. The Force is a thing. Like, you can't say I don't believe in the Force. Don't.
Okay.
You believe in that?
Okay. The midi-chlorians try to give a scientific background to this religion, but it's in effect still a religion. It's got dualism, it's got prophecies, it's got the contradiction between determinism and free will, it's got a elite of masters who know the inner truth, like Yoda.
Yeah, but
in many ways it has all the accoutrement of a religion. Accoutrements of religion.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I really don't know what that is.
The furniture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, you can say, look, I'm a Jedi Master. I can lift a spaceship. The guy who just started can barely lift a rock. You know, I kind of get that. I kind of deserve to be called a master. Like, look, Star Wars. No, Paul's a different guy. Oh, no, Paul left a while ago. He just forgot to put on. He just forgot to
change his clothes. I see.
Yeah. Worst
no, but merely showing that Gandalf's magic or the Ring's magic works doesn't turn Lord of the Rings into a scientific story.
No, it doesn't own it. But for the people in the setting of Star Wars, the Jedi are not priests. Well, they are priests, but they have the Force.
Are they scientists?
No, they're horrible. Well, maybe they are. Well, no, the scientists are the people of the dark side, because the dark side is the scientific, evil, Darth Plagueis.
The true analog for the Jedi is more like the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
Religious crusaders.
No, I think of them more as like
priest warriors. Right?
I think of them more as like Buddhist monk samurais, like Shaolin temple guys.
Buddhist monk samurai.
Yeah, no, their religion and outlook is more similar to Zen or Tang. Tang is like Zen Buddhism in China.
Definitely, and there's no question that that is really one of the messes that made with the Star Wars is how they attempt to lard the Jedi philosophy with this Buddhism, but it completely contradicts the
No, it doesn't work because Lucas probably doesn't get Buddhism very well.
No, that he may not be the best student of Buddhism either. Well, there are different forms of Buddhism, just as there are different forms of Christianity. And
but not the one he's trying to talk about, which is obviously Zen Buddhism. There is nothing but the Force. There is only the Force. Blah blah blah.
He does echo a lot of Buddhism, doesn't he? Or tries to. Now, this I think is, you want to ask why I think the storytelling in Star Wars is a mess. That's where we have to start. The Jedi philosophy is a philosophy that is, well, in the prequels, in Attack of the Clones, we're told they can't get married.
Right.
They have to love everybody, but no one in particular. That's why Anakin can't have a special relationship with Padme.
Right.
And they can't reveal their marriage to the Jedi, or he'll be kicked out of the Jedi Council.
Right.
Wow. So
yeah, it kind of sucks.
And Yoda explains it in Buddhist terms. Fear of loss is a path to the dark side. So be careful about losing those you love. So you don't want to get too close or have too specific a bond. You have to rejoice when someone dies, released into the Force, right? So Yoda's whole philosophy is against human bonds.
Attachment.
Getting too close to a particular person is dangerous. And you'll notice that the first set of movies kind of tries to show us that Anakin is led to the dark side to become Darth Vader because of his fear for Padme.
Right.
Because of his fear for his mother.
You know who's the first person Anakin first soaks, by the way?
I'm sorry?
You know who is the first person Anakin first soaks? You know who it is? Padme.
No.
It's Padme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
See, that's it.
That's how
It doesn't. The third of the prequels, Episode 3, kind of doesn't make sense because apparently he's doing it all for Padme, but then at the end he does the choke.
Because I think that does make sense because by that point, if you look at it at the you take all the religion aside, which is not very interesting. He loses track of his values, his real values and Padme's values of democracy, freedom, all the good stuff, and he's just left with a desire for power. And when Padme sees him. She's like, "Whoa, no!" And he says, screw you, because that's how he's done everything."
He'll choke his own pregnant wife.
Right, he's choking his own pregnant wife. Hoping. Well, I don't know.
Wow, hardcore. So he's gone all the way. I'm not sure if I was convinced about him getting to that point, just storytelling wise. But the disturbing thing is that if that's the Jedi philosophy, that personal relationships will subject you to, let's put it this way. We're told that Anakin's personal relationship with Padme is at least the crack in the door that led him to the dark side.
The way I heard it is there is an explanation for it of one guy. He's an I think he's into Ayn Rand and objectivism like you happen to be. Even though he doesn't say it, he doesn't have a username for some reason, and he says that no, once you even get the little taste of the dark side, it's like cocaine. You just don't stop using it. It's addicted. So he says.
But you can be redeemed.
Huh? You can be redeemed for a while. For temporarily, you can be redeemed. But
at the very end, he can pull it out. Darth Vader himself. Right. It's wild. He kills all the younglings, though, in the third of the prequels. But somehow we forget all that if he can do the Emperor in.
Well, no, he's not a good guy. He just decided to do the right thing at the end. But there's
still some good in him, you see. Okay, now look at this.
Yeah.
The theme of the actual, what Ayn Rand, the novelist philosopher, called plot theme, may be very different than what the author thinks the theme of the story is.
Yes.
What the story tells is a specific message. And the story comes to saying the exact opposite of the Jedi philosophy.
Yes, we know.
And so at the very end, what is it? Paul's belief that his father can be turned is what gets him back.
Not Paul, Luke, the other guy.
Oh, you're right. Look what you've done to me today.
I haven't done it to you.
You completely blurred it in my head. Luke, and Luke hides. He doesn't come out of the shadows until his sister's threatened.
Right.
And then, of course, at the end, when the Emperor is zapping Luke, he says, "Father, Father, help me." And it's his father's love for him that gets Vader to kill the Emperor. So what destroys the Sith are personal bonds.
Right.
Specific bonds. Luke loves his sister. Vader loves his son. Right?
Even though they never met each other and they've been enemies for a very long time.
Exactly.
I'm not saying it makes sense.
Yoda turns out to be exactly wrong.
Yes.
The Jedi philosophy, in fact, if you look at the story, is evil.
Yes,
he would prevent that kind of personal bond that destroyed the Emperor from ever happening.
I actually think George Lucas knows that.
So the plot theme, and look at it this way: if Anakin hadn't had to keep his relationship secret, that's what really lured him to the Emperor. It wasn't the bond.
No, I don't think it's that. No,
it was the secrecy. So it turns out that not only do personal bonds save the day, but Yoda's philosophy is what screwed Anakin up.
But personal bonds,
the plot theme as Yoda's wrong.
But but personal bonds caused this mess.
No, they didn't. It was the rule against personal bonds that made Padme and Anakin have to hide it.
Because it's explained in universe that if a guy has even a taste of the dark side, he's going to be evil and he's going to do evil stuff, and that's
that's the philosophical noise. That's not the plot theme.
Okay.
That's the stated philosophy.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so what the plot theme of the first 6 Star Wars movies is,
only 6 Star Wars
is that the Jedi philosophy is wrong.
The rest is heresy.
In other words, you cannot experience the events without saying, well, according to the events, the Jedi philosophy made Anakin have to keep a secret and subjected him to the Emperor. It was actually personal connections, family connections and love that it saved the day.
No, I think
so. The whole Jedi philosophy of not loving anyone in particular turned out to be evil turned out to be wrong.
No,
I do not think that was George Lucas's intention.
Maybe
George Lucas wants us to believe that the Jedi philosophy is idealistic and true, and that this is how the story turned out. Unfortunately, he doesn't think like a storyteller. The story suggests that the philosophy that he thinks idealistic is wrong.
Yes. I never said he was very good. I said I like his movies.
Right. I like the movies. They're fun. The action sequences are dazzling. But when you try and understand it as a story, it is utterly incoherent.
It's not that incoherent. Look, I actually have a different...
This is intent for us to think Yoda's an idiot. But it turns out that Yoda was wrong about the Emperor, and the Jedi get defeated in the first 3 movies. And in the second one, he's wrong about Luke going and not being able to come back. Yoda is just always wrong. And his philosophy is contradicted by the actual events of the story.
So you're telling me Yoda is the bad guy? No, I'm kidding.
I'm telling you that George Lucas wants us to think he's the idealistic good guy, but the events of the story he tells inevitably tell us that Yoda was wrong.
You know, I actually have a different take on it. I think that, yes, personal connections was part of it, but Anakin became Darth Vader because he was ruled by fear because he could not handle freedom. Like, remember, Anakin was a slave most of his life, and after becoming a slave to his, the guy with the big nose, not me, that was a bit on the nose. After becoming a slave to that, he was a slave to the Jedi, and then he was a slave to his fears, and eventually he was enslaved to the Emperor, which mimics... Now, I don't think Lucas planned this. I think this was just a happy coincidence, which mimics how Palpatine controls the galaxy through fear. They could not handle freedom, so they were controlled through fear, which is a very good political message.
You have a really good point, and I like your thinking in this way. The main characterological difference that's being brought out between Anakin and Luke is that
Anakin decides.
Anakin is governed by fear.
Luke decides.
Fear. He fears for his mother. He fears for Padme. He fears. Luke actually says, "I'm not afraid," and Yoda actually has to say, "Oh, but you will be. You will be.
He will be."
And even Darth Vader, when he's dueling Luke in the first one, you've controlled your fear. Now release your anger. So we're told that the difference, in effect, between father and son is that the son was not raised a slave, and therefore doesn't. And his family was just killed. They weren't a constant overhanging.
Well, family. Look, they do come from different circumstances, but you can't just suck it up to circumstances.
He couldn't have freedom. Being a slave affected Anakin. Luke was not raised a slave. His family, rather than being a constant worry, was just killed. So he was made an enemy of the Empire from the start. So you make a really good point. Psychologically, I think that is what Lucas is saying. Luke was not afraid.
No, Luke decided. Anakin didn't.
Anakin makes a decision.
It's not a good one.
A wrong one, but we can almost sympathize. What you're saying, I guess.
No, he decides not to be free. He decides not to distance himself from the Jedi and say, "Hey, the Jedi are wrong. I'm going to do this. Screw them. Whatever happens, I'm going to
submit to the Jedi, or you submit to the Sith." There's no freedom in that sense at all.
And at the end, he decided not to submit, which was his catharsis in a way. That's for me what Star Wars is about: freedom and fear.
It's also it's not science. It's mysticism. The Jedi have.
No, it's
you submit to teaching like a Zen master. Yeah.
Or actually, the Sith are better at understanding the Force than the Jedi, apparently. But the Sith are sort of they're fleshed out to be more hedonistic and more. Something about the dark side and selfishness makes them into sadists and psychopaths for some reason.
Well, in the prequel, the Emperor Palpatine actually says some very interesting things. To understand the whole truth, you have to understand both sides.
Right.
To understand the whole truth, you have to sort of dialectically integrate everything, right? And when he says that, it makes the Sith philosophy sound a lot more
rational.
The
Sith philosophy is more reasonable. Like, on paper, it is more reasonable, but George Lucas takes it and makes it the bad guy because he's fixing the fight for the Jedi. But
Right.
still, it doesn't mean the Sith philosophy is anything good. The Sith philosophy is based on exploitation and cynicism
Yeah,
and
exactly.
power.
If the Sith are going to be the emperors, then they're obviously political
Even though we
totalitarian.
only know one guy who's a Sith and he's a bad guy, it's not really
Right.
fair.
Exactly.
Oh
And
well,
he's
no,
the
there's Count Dooku. There's Count Dooku, who's actually, wants to get rid of corruption within the Empire, but he joins forces with a crazy guy, and he gets his comeuppance for that. So he's kind of a cautionary tale.
I think that even if we agree, and
Right.
we do agree with that, Luke is free from the fear that Anakin had, because Anakin was raised a slave and had constant worries about his mother and Padme.
Right. Yeah, that's well, no.
Whereas
That's part of the
Luke is
background.
sort of free from those fears. But I think that you can't, even so, you can't deny that an essential feature of Jedi philosophy turns out to be the source of the destruction of the
Right,
Jedi at first, and then the destruction, the salvation, the destruction of the Sith.
Right.
That's just plain. Personal bonds that are anathema to Yoda
Yes.
are what win the day.
Yes.
Actually,
But not an anathema to well, I don't know what they are anathema to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
see,
Obi-Wan Kenobi
is an interesting thing, because he does have personal bonds to, especially to Anakin and Luke. So, Ewan McGregor at the end of the third prequel will say, "I loved you. You were my brother."
Right.
So he has a particular bond with Anakin, but he has to. But you'll notice he lets it go. He tells Yoda, "I can't fight Anakin. He's my buddy," but then he ends up fighting Anakin.
No, but then he says, "You know what? I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna continue fighting you."
Right.
It says, "Okay, so I throw in the towel." Literally, he throws in a big rope.
Well,
also, just one thing.
Poor Anakin gets his legs cut off and his body burned.
Yeah. No, but just another thing. He doesn't kill Anakin though. He should have.
No. He just. But doesn't he assume that Anakin will probably die from the fire?
He can do a kill conform. It's not that hard. He can just like push him to the rocks and just want to be sure on this one. Don't want to. No, I mean, look, that's also, he's a soldier. That's standard operating procedure. Conform the kill. I mean,
I know this, and I'm not a soldier. Star Wars is this weird tension about technology.
Yeah, kind of like in Dune, but not exactly.
So you've got this. Of course, the bad guys are using high tech, right? And Darth Vader becomes more machine than man, which is twisted and sinister because he's now machine, which is sort of bad in its connotation. But wait a minute here. The most sympathetic characters are the robots.
Yes, but they're simple robots.
Is the hero of The Empire Strikes Back. There's no other way of looking at Empire Strikes Back other than seeing R2-D2 as the hero.
The way I'm looking at
drive, you know what I mean? He's constantly being the hero. So
robots are very sympathetic in Star Wars.
Evil. So if technology is evil, then why is R2 so sympathetic?
Oh. I like R2-D2. I like 3PO. Oh well, then why is 3PO so annoying? I don't know. I really like R2-D2. I really like it
because he puts form over substance and is a coward.
And he's played by Anthony Daniels. Also, here's another thing, just to make this easier. Yes, Luke and Anakin are father and son, but since they are the same age when the story takes place, it's easier to look at them as brothers. It's easier to look at them as brothers because they're the same age, and father and son don't deal with the same stuff at the same age.
No, you see, and there's a very big difference. And Luke looks up to, until he learns that Darth Vader is his father, Anakin, he looks up to the image that Obi-Wan had given him of his Jedi father. Whereas Anakin, almost from the start, is told he's born of an immaculate conception. The Force itself is your father.
James, you're copying this Christianity thing again. Enough. Wait.
Well, I think part of our discussion was to connect these dots.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Sorry, I forgot about that.
So Anakin is so powerful, he's born of the Force. He's parthenogenesis, right? His mother can't explain where he came from. It's like the Virgin Mary.
You know why the Virgin? why Mary was the ultimate Jewish daughter? She didn't just convince everyone she's a virgin. She also convinced people that the father was God. Wait. But she made a fatal mistake.
I'm not only a virgin, the dad is God. Brilliant.
No, wait. She made a fatal mistake.
For an excuse for an early pregnancy. I mean, yeah.
You know why? But you know why that didn't work on her mom? You know why?
Why?
Because God isn't a doctor.
And every Jewish mother wants her daughter to marry a doctor.
That's right.
Oh, that's too funny.
So
You're full of all kinds of ethnic stereotypes about your own wonderful people.
Hey, it's the only. Look, I'm trying to get into the market for other ethnic stereotypes, but it's going slowly because of this whole thing called cancel culture. We'll get there. No, I try. I only know. Look, I make fun of what I know.
Right.
And I don't know a lot about. Anyways,
but you're absolutely right. The influences on Star Wars
are very religious.
I mean, you look at the religious influences, both Christianity and Buddhism, for example.
Yes.
You look at the literary influences, like Frank Herbert. You look at the historical influences.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. World War II.
Yeah. And of course, those 40s sequels.
Oh, I love those. I love those 40s sequels. I just look at them.
Exactly.
I don't watch a lot of them. What I watched, I was very happy with. Like, yeah, it's pretty simple. Flash Gordon, he's just a man.
Right.
He's just a man with a man's courage. You can't get better than that, Cats, for slogan.
Right.
Also, do you think the cast believed oh, you know that, what's his face? Sir, who's the guy who played Obi-Wan? What's the name of the guy who played Obi-Wan in
Sir Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
And then Ewan McGregor played the young Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Alec Guinness. No, I forgot his name. Alec Guinness said, like, to a kid came out to him and said, wow, I really like Star Wars. I said, no, I don't. I'm starting to see why.
And you know something? They asked Christopher Lee, who was in the prequels.
Yeah.
He was also in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yes.
And he said, well, can you compare the Lord of the Rings tradition to the Star Wars tradition? And he had much the same. Oh, come on. Star Wars is Tinker Toys. The Lord of the Rings is serious.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is most. I like Lord of the Rings more, and I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, so.
And see, that's the other thing. It's still a world of magic and swords, and that's...
No.
Fantasy can get very boring to me.
Okay.
If it's just dragons and swords.
I love dragons. I love dragons. I love guys because you can tell dragons with cool swords. It's really fun. You never played Dungeons and Dragons?
Obviously, The Hobbit is really charming because of the relationship between Bilbo and Smaug.
Yeah.
But they say they're also making the prequel to Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, which will tell the story of Turin and the...
No, don't.
Dragon.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, wait, stay on target. I had to do that once.
I actually enjoy reading Tolkien because he's the best at it. But
he's really good.
But I'm not a big fan of the genre because I think that sword and sorcery gets old because it's just the furniture for its own sake.
I don't like sword and sorcery either, but I do like the elements of it, of magic and fantastical powers. But I don't like the not the mysticism, the non-rationalism.
Can I recommend a book by my co-author, Warren Fay, called Crimson? It's a fantasy set in the kind of Lord of the Rings fantasy genre, but it is a philosophical allegory of great sophistication. It takes on dualism, mysticism, the mind-body dichotomy, and the role of fantasy itself within the fantasy. So I highly recommend the fantasy novel Crimson by Warren Fay.
Okay. You heard that here. Go read it. Everyone listening to this, go read it. Come on.
Yes, definitely.
Also, Star Wars is, some people said Star Wars is a sci-fi. Star Wars is a sci-fi setting with a fantasy story in it. That's the thing to remember. Because it's sci-fi. Look, it's hyperdrive.
Because sci-fi has to turn on a scientific thing.
Even though the science in it is bunk.
It's a fantasy that pretends there's all this technology out there in space,
which makes sense.
Seem like a science fiction, right?
No, actually, it looks used. The technology in Star Wars is very convincing,
right?
Which is why the fantasy element sells better, in my opinion.
Right.
Dune. Okay, so Dune is largely anti-religion. Would you say that Star Wars is essentially very pro-religion in the opposite way than Dune?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Jedi are more religion
than the Bene Gesserit.
They're religious warriors like the Crusaders or something.
Yeah.
They're you know, whereas they're not scientists.
They don't have to be.
Not
well, they don't have to be scientists.
Whereas Frank Herbert is trying to explain that it was mathematical training and certain mind-enhancing drugs that make his Messiah or his Mentats or something, right?
Oh, man.
So while it is unbelievable science in some ways, it's science fiction.
Yeah, we know it's
fantasy fiction.
Yeah. So what's it? Look, there are two types of sci-fi. There's Jules Verne's and there's Orson Welles. Jules Verne is gonna try and make it as real as possible. The Orson Welles doesn't care.
I loved Jules Verne as a child.
I love Jules Verne.
It had a huge impact on me. I read The Time Machine and Around the World in 80 Days, and I just Jules Verne was huge impact on me. I read H.G. Wells. I read The Time Machine, and I learned about H.G. Wells' wider social philosophy, but I thought that was an interesting idea, but I was much more attracted to Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days, and Captain Nemo, and Under the Sea. I was much more interested in that kind of thing.
For me, like sci-fi is Jules Verne. H.G. Wells is a footnote. That sounds mean, but that sounds mean.
I also loved, despite his deterministic ideas, I loved the Foundation trilogy, the original 3 Foundation books.
I can't read that stuff.
Oh my God, I just love that.
Look, I can't read Dune. Like literally, Dune is the only. Herbert is the only guy who writes dialogue worse than Lucas. Like, no, really, you read it, like, they said on this. Like, I want to produce an indie movie, and I did a lot of research on the making of Star Wars, which was the most successful indie movie in history, hands down. And one of the, I think it was Mark Hamill. No, it was Carrie Fisher, who told Lucas, look, you can write these lines, but you can't say them. Well, when it comes to Frank, I didn't know that one. Carrie Fisher is incredibly funny, and Carrie Fisher is an incredibly funny individual. Anyways, when it comes to Frank Herbert, you can write these lines, but you can't read them. The dialogue is just that appalling in Dune. It's like a bad fan fiction of Atlas Shrugged. Without reading Atlas Shrugged, which was the amazing thing.
Well,
oh yeah. Now we gotta get to the painful part.
Oh.
What do you think about Star Wars 7, 8? What do you think about the Disney sequels?
I have to pause. Take a deep breath. I tried. I really tried.
How much?
Well, I invested myself enough to say that when they started telling the story of, the stormtrooper who was conditioned to be a stormtrooper, but made an individual choice, I thought, wow.
That was good.
Really cool.
That was
this
good.
Could be a really cool thing.
Yeah, that was good.
But by the end, by the third movie, they do not use it like it should have been. He now succumbs and buckles under, and it's not about individualism and personal choice. The same is true with the pilot.
Oh, Dameron.
Oh, Dameron, yeah. They do not. They set up a lovely. He's got a lesson to learn, right?
But in which movie, the first or the second?
It all falls through.
Which movie? The first or the second?
The worst is with the female lead.
Rey.
It was a nightmare. I would rather her parents have been obscure nobodies, because
that was the plan.
That would have made the point that anyone can be a Jedi. But no. The way they connect her to the Emperor suddenly becomes beyond bizarre and makes a hash out of the entire plot theme of all 9 movies.
Say something good about it before we go on.
Well, there were good things, I thought, like I say, hints of what could have been good.
What about Kylo Ren? Yeah, something about him.
He is, but you see, he is much more conflicted than, say, Darth Vader. In the first two films, we get no idea that there could be any good left in Darth Vader. That is to say, episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
Right?
Yep.
Whereas from the beginning, Kylo is this deeply conflicted, oh, can I live up to my grandfather, Darth Vader?
By being bad.
No.
Oh, bad, I don't know.
Right? So he's a much more internally conflicted guy already, which makes his internal conflict more credible.
He's interesting. He's interesting.
That Darth Vader still has good in him is harder to believe than that Kylo Ren might be redeemable at the end.
Yes, even though he killed his dad.
Even though, he kills his dad, but then it's like he's doing it to prove something to himself. But then at the end, he regrets it, and there is something redeemable.
Yeah, no, he's like, oh,
all along he was conflicted.
Yeah, no, he's interesting. That's also. What do you think of BB-8?
Jar Jar Binks, let's face it.
I actually like Jar Jar.
Really?
This is the point where most people run away from me. Look, I liked him because I was a kid when I saw it, and I learned one thing. You don't have to be special. You don't have to even be not afraid, but you can be brave.
But you can be brave.
You can be brave even if you're afraid and you're not special, because Jar Jar isn't special. He's not even that smart.
One of the holes is, of course, that the easily manipulated nature of Jar Jar helps him bring up the empire.
I actually like that. I actually like that bit. There is a theory. Can you hear me?
People, at least conveying the idea that good people can be used by evil ideologies.
Even though he was, when I seeing it as an adult, Jar Jar was very annoying. But it was funny when I was a kid. He made jokes. I mean, the whole movie is like, it feels like Dune. There's so many stick in the mud.
That they were trying. What struck me about the prequels is that they were trying to recreate sort of the charming personality aspects of the droids. In
and we only got the annoying part of them.
And exactly. They got the annoying part.
Also, there was we're gonna talk about the auxiliary movie.
Better.
Yeah,
I was making the comparison because I think I like BB-8 better than I like Jar Jar.
BB-8 doesn't have a character though.
Well, he's feisty. He's determined.
Yeah,
he has a lot of the same character traits as R2.
Yeah, but he's never gonna be R2. Let's face it, he's never going to be out there.
Frankly, a copy of R2, right?
Yeah, well, look, he's R2, but
if Luke had R2, Rey has got to have, and Poe have got to have BB-8.
Yeah, but look, let's face it, they just put in a new character because they got to pay, because Lucasfilms and Disney have to pay money personally to Lucas for every Lucas-based character they have. Right. So they make new ones. It's that simple. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a multi-billion dollar business. Oh, yeah. Look at the bottom line. Yeah. It's
But I'll tell you, it's being driven much more by The Mandalorian than any of those new Abrams
I heard a lot of good things about The Mandalorian.
I've actually not seen it or gotten into it at all, but I hear very good things about it. And it apparently is carrying the popular load because the Abrams last three films,
Abrams
it was
and Abrams and He Who Shall Not Be Named. What do you think about the second Star Wars movie of the new The Last Jedi?
A mixed story, but at least I still had hopes that the third one might pull it out. I was really hopeful. I was hopeful through The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Maybe they could pull this out and make something cool, with Finn and Poe and Rey, and they did not.
And totally in Last Jedi or in The Last Skywalker? No, I got confused. I'm sorry.
The Rise of Skywalker, I think, is the worst of the Star Wars films.
Whoa. What about The Last Jedi? Because that's the one that has all the controversy attached onto it.
If I had known that what was coming, I would say, yeah, this is a setup for disaster. On the other hand, I think there were actually good parts.
Yeah, no, there were good parts, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of thought might have been something they could have done with better, but I still even liked the interaction between Luke and Rey a bit.
It's interesting because in a way, like, Luke falls in the same philosophical pitfalls as Yoda.
Exactly.
Kind of.
In fact, they recognize Yoda's mistakes. And Yoda has a wonderful line at the end. It is We are what they overcome. That's what it is to be a true master.
Yeah. That was a good one.
I actually like that.
That was a
right?
very good line. That was a very good
Yeah.
line. Lots of in it, and then he just uses force lightning because apparently he can use the dark side now, or not.
Yeah.
No, and Yoda, and also they said, look, the stupid idea of just attacking and blowing stuff up is not how you win a war. Get real people. Yeah, that's true. So what do we do instead?
See, they were setting up a galaxy-wide revolt and this underground movement, right, with the symbol and Leia inspiring this new Republican movement through the galaxy.
Yeah, that was cool. It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
And then in the third one, it's all Deus Ex Machina. It's Rey versus the Emperor again, and their superpowers.
Well, no, there were always superpowers. I mean,
blah. Why didn't they follow through with the political revolution? They did a little, but not in a satisfactory way at all. Nor did they use the setup with Finn and Poe in a proper way, in my view.
No, it was all wasted potential. But look, here's the thing: really gets me off between the last Jedi. It's just so nihilistic. I mean, it makes fun of everything. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it just denigrates the characters we love.
I think that's true too. I think much of the comedy just turned out to be sort of a spoof on, rather than a tribute to.
James, are you racist? Do you like Rey?
I liked her until the third one.
I didn't like her from the beginning. She just seems so annoying. Like, no, like literally, she's like that chick who's just good at everything. You meet at like school or whatever. It's like she's good at everything.
I think that a lot of people said there were a lot of political correctness in making the next Jedi hero.
Maybe, I don't know.
But the point is that I think George Lucas will say, it was my intention to have a female be the last Jedi hero.
Yeah, no, and there's Mara Jade, which is also a thing, and Luke was supposed to be.
But I think in the way it was executed in the third movie, her vulnerability, her vulnerability should have been overcome. That is to say, she should have had resolution, a better resolution with who her parents were.
Also,
they set it up so complexly. There had to be some kind of satisfying resolution as to where she came from, and that just fell apart. See, because that's really her vulnerability. If Anakin's
it's not just that. Yeah.
Anakin's afraid, Rey is worried about who she is.
That's much more superficial when you say it like that.
Well, but that's also, the best I can do.
She's just good at everything. She can do all of it. She doesn't.
She is so powerful that it's almost not a challenge.
Look, if it's okay to make very overpowered characters, if you make that interesting, like she can just do this alone and she relies on herself, but her attitude is not feasible in the slightest. But doesn't come up. She's just good at stuff. Like she learns to use the Force and do a Jedi mind trick almost instantly because she got what? And she resisted being Force whatever by Kylo Ren.
Right. Exactly. It was fighting that brings it out, not training. See, I had thought that they were going to tell a story of how her, as a little girl, her mother had already started her in Jedi training or something.
That would have
made that a little more credible, right?
Yeah, that might have made sense.
The third one was such a letdown because of the background it gave Rey.
Well, she's the daughter. I guess it does mean something.
And then, of course, what the Emperor does at the end of this Deus Ex Machina, again, that's so hokey.
Yeah, and Snoke, which was completed wasted potential. Okay, Snoke's the bad guy. No, it's a fake out. Sorry. I actually like the throne room scene where Snoke gets killed because of his arrogance and his.
Oh, Snoke getting killed! I thought was cool.
That was very good. That was his prescience.
That was one of the clever things about the second one.
Yeah, no, that was clever. It was his prescience, which is like what in Dune they call seeing the future, which is what the Bene Gesserits do, which is. By the way, the Jedi was supposed to be called Bene Jedi or something like that. Jedi. No, really, like, look.
That would have given away too much of the sources.
Yeah, that would be like, yeah, no, I'm really going to get sued if I do that.
Well, Bene.
We didn't see any of, like, also Rey comes from discount Arrakis. Like, you can copy. No, you can look, let's face it, Tatooine is Arrakis, and Jakku is Tatooine. Right. There are even sandworms. Anyways,
Oh yeah, the huge influence of Dune on Star Wars is unmistakable.
especially for religion, but Lucas takes it in a completely opposite direction.
I agree. I think there are major fundamental differences between the two and how they
Which do you
approach
think is better better in
religion. Let's call it the religio science of both.
which one do you think is better? No, I don't say agree with. Which one do you think is better in presenting that part?
Oh, Dune is infinitely superior.
Okay. Which one do you think is a better story?
Has storytelling,
Star Wars.
has philosophical plot theme. Dune is infinitely better.
I don't think about it.
I think is not among my most favorite, writers in terms of skill, but his first two Dune novels are absolutely brilliant ideas.
If you just count it as the first two, maybe. But if you look at the other ones where it just becomes ridiculous,
oh
no.
My God.
Look, it goes downhill.
After the third and fourth, I was like, no more Dune for me. But the first two actually come to a neat story.
Yeah, except they're still like, well, what's going to keep happening? It's like, you set all this up, you got to...
It was successful, so I think his publisher said, keep writing these books.
No, I think he actually did it because he wanted to. Okay, so a lot of people say that Ayn Rand is a type of novelist that just writes what she thinks through her characters. Well, it's not true for her, but it's 1,000,000% true for Frank Herbert.
Right.
For all of them.
No,
you take care. No, you take care too. See ya. May the force be with you. No kidding.
May the force be with you.
No, this is the Conan blessing. Okay.